Joshua chapter 1, verse 11. This has been our key verse that has propelled us into the Joshua campaign. Joshua 1, first chapter, verse 11. I started at prepare provisions for yourselves. For within 3 days you will cross over this Jordan to go in to possess the land which the Lord your God has given you to possess. Chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. This is where I'll be pulling the majority of the text from. Then Joshua rose early in the morning, and they set out from the acacia grove and came to the Jordan, he and all the children of Israel, and lodged there before they crossed over. So it was after 3 days that the officers went through the camp, and they commanded the people, saying, when you see who? I'll remember it. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord, your God, and the priest, the Levites, bearing it, in other words, carrying it, then you shall set out from your place and go after it. Yet there shall be space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits by measure. Do not come near it, that you may know the way by which you must go. For you have not passed this way before. This morning I want to give you a message I entitled Unfamiliar Territory. Still been there. Have you ever stood on the banks of unfamiliar territory? I mean, it's kind of a scary thing if you think about it. Not too many of us are prepared for the unfamiliar, are we? Many of us want to hold on to the familiarity. Let's stand on the banks because I know what to expect on this side. Oh, I know what's on the other side, but right here I know what to expect. I don't know what to expect on the other side. Many times in our life we've been called out by God, I believe, to cross over a Jordan. And when we first started reading this text back in December, the word "this" just jumped out off of the pages. And I said, this Jordan. That implies there's another one. See, too many times in life we think once we get past one Jordan, we don't have to cross another one. When we get out of one battle, we don't have to face another one. But with that implication of this Jordan, I went, wow, God, really? You're going to help me past this one, but you're going to put me in front of another one. Boy, it's an encouraging word from God this morning, isn't it? But we miss the encouragement side of it, that he got us past this one, that he made a way through this one. And if he done it through this one, he'll do it through the next one. But too many times we get caught up and we don't rely on what God's done in the past, that he'll be faithful and do it again now. We get caught on how big and how grand the problem is, how much our hands have been taken off of it. And whatever we do just doesn't fix it. It doesn't take us to what we need to go to. We have to leave it up to God sometimes in our life. And that's the hard part. Man, that's the hard part. Because too many people walk around with a fix-it attitude. Most of the time it's the men, but there are some women that say, I can fix it, I can handle it, I can do it. I mean, just give me a moment, just give me a chance. I can figure this thing out. I can put it together. See, we'll say a prayer, but I think we say a prayer. I think we say a prayer out of habit. God, you know the situation I'm in. Help take care of it for me. And when God don't show up, right then, we go home and we start getting inside of our mind how we can fix it, how we can do it. What do I do now? Now that I'm standing here, God hasn't showed up and given me any miraculous sign. He hasn't given me the bright, shining star in the sky that I can follow. It's not there. There's no words. There's no signs. There's no people. There's nothing. So we decide, okay, I've got to do something. Sometimes it's okay to wait on the Lord. Oh, I know. When we're not fixing what needs to be fixed right now, sometimes it's okay to wait on God. How do I do that, Pastor? I don't know. It's between you and Him. See, what works for me may not work for you. I got a harder head. You might not want to go through some of the things that God takes me through. You might want to stay on your side of the street. It's probably a little bit easier. God just gives you a tug on the leash and you're okay. You get on my side of the street and he hits you in the back of the head, takes you behind the shed. So you might want to stay on your side of the street sometime. But every one of us, I believe, have faced a Jordan in our life. And some of us right now are probably standing on the banks of a Jordan. I'm not talking about where you're going to eat for lunch after church. That's not the Jordan I'm talking about. That's a creek. I'm talking about the Jordan. The Jordan that you might be standing and facing right now, is it the same one that you faced last year? You done anything different this year to cross over? Challenge word this morning. Man, too many times we rely God just to do it all and we have to do nothing. And I'm getting ready to show you that God says you've got to do almost all of it. He's already done everything He's going to do. He said, see, I've already given it to you. You just got to take it. Man, there's a lot of things that take place when you're standing at the banks of a Jordan. You know, I think the biggest problem with most of us is that we aren't willing to do what it takes to cross over. And then we take what God has given us as an ability or as a gift, and we take it to God and we ask God to do it for us. Come on, I don't want to lose you. I may not spit this morning. I don't want to lose you. See, we can't expect God to flourish us financially if we're flippant with our money. We can't expect God to put $100,000 in our bank account if we're not willing to work. I love it when it gets quiet like this, boy, because everybody's so tight. If y'all see, this is why y'all should sit beside each other, because y'all can hold on to each other. When you're out floating by yourself in your own boat, man, the waves get a little. I wonder if anybody in here has ever been there. I mean, I know I've made the mistakes. I know I've done it. God, I want you to do this, man. God, and I've even gone as far as to fast. God, you know that I'm giving up my chocolate and I'm giving up my Diet Coke. God, I'm serious. And God said, well, let me ask you a question. Oh, and this isn't the first day of fasting either. This is like 15, 20 days into it. And then he goes, let me ask you, can't you ask this question like on day one? But what have you done to change anything? I'm fasting. I don't know. Maybe his word's just going to be for me this morning. But I'd be bold enough to step across the line and say, the Jordan that you're standing in front of right now is the same one that you were standing in front of last year, and it was because you are familiar with where you're at and you don't want to challenge yourself to cry. I understand the Jordan that you're facing. It's raging waters. Oh, it's flood stage, baby. There's no doubt. I mean, we're springtime and Mount Hernon is dumping the snow and all the water's coming off of the mountain and it's flowing down into the Jordan. And man, it's over its banks. It's swelling up. I understand it can get scary. It can get nerve-wracking. But what's more important? Being able to cross over it so that it's behind your back, or wake up again tomorrow and see it at your face. Man, what a discouraging life that is. To see it every day, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, and it's the same God-forsaken thing standing at our door. Are you that familiar with where you are? Chances are familiarity is probably a disguise. Because in reality, you may not be as familiar with your circumstances as you think you are. Because you don't know what tomorrow holds. You still willing to hang on to it? Oh, now I'm going to work you. Now I'm going to see, you're comfortable, weren't you? I got it. I know what, no you don't. God holds tomorrow. One thing is for sure, though. If you don't change something, something ain't changing for you. Now, you can walk the walk however you want to walk it through life and through this faith walk. You can do it however you want to do it, and you can do it the same way every day. But I can promise you, your results are going to be the same. And you're going to be insane. Because that's what, right? To do the same thing over and over and expect a different result is insanity, right? So that thing is going to remain the same and you're going to remain insane. Are you really that familiar with your situation? To where you're so comfortable that you're willing to sit there and next year we can talk about it and you're at the same place? You're that comfortable with it? Man, if I could see somebody just shake their head and say, yeah, I'm that comfortable, I would pray that I was that person. Because I'm not comfortable from one minute to the next. I'm scared to be comfortable. Because when you become comfortable and you're complacent, I'm not even close to my notes. But we're going to talk a minute. When we become so close to our circumstance that we do feel that we are familiar with it, man, we close our eyes, we shut down our ears, we harden our hearts, and there's no avenue of change. There's no avenue of someone giving you a word to awaken you, to cause you to go and cross over. You sit right where, and you rot. You become the Dead Sea. Mount Hermon flows, all the waters roll down into the Jordan. And then the Jordan goes into the Sea of Galilee. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not good with geography. Barely passed. I just know I'm in Roanoke. And then it flows from there into the Dead Sea. You know why they call it the Dead Sea, right? Because nothing grows in it. Why is that? Some are whispering, salt, salt. It's accumulated as salt. But what's the biggest key? Because you can't tell me it's just salt, because the oceans have fish and live things in it. Maybe, perhaps, there's no outlet. So the salt is not the killer. It just adds to it, because the accumulation of the salt comes and stays in one place. Maybe, just maybe, if you are so familiar with your circumstance that you're not willing to change anything, could you possibly be a Dead Sea? Because, see, you're not willing to allow anything to flow through you. You just want it to flow to you. Now we meddling. Because we pray for blessings this morning. We want God to prosper us. We want God to heal us. But we don't want to change anything. We just want all of these blessings to flow to us. Man, that's a killer. There has to be an outlet. When there's not an outlet, I don't know why we ended up on the Dead Sea. We're just there. But could it possibly be that the circumstance and the situation that you're in right now could be labeled as a Dead Sea because you're not willing to cross over? You're not willing to change anything. You're not willing to give an opening to anything. You already figured this thing out, man. You've got it down to a T. Everything you learned in school and all the money that you've needed has been given to you, and everything around you has been supplied, and you've got it all figured out, but it's still dying off. Why? Let me try to get to some notes. We've already talked about some of the biggest fears about crossing over, and it's because of the unfamiliar territory. We don't really know what lies ahead, so we're kind of gun shy, if you will. We don't want to step out into things like that because we're not real sure. But this is what I want to tell you about unfamiliar territories. Unfamiliar territories causes a mindset to change. Unfamiliar territories causes your ability to see to be sharpened. Unfamiliar territories causes a direction change in your life. I mean, let's look back at the Israelites. Let's just take a look for a minute. Familiar territory, the desert. They wandered it for 40 years. They was familiar. You can't say that you can walk around in a circle until you get to the point where you're familiar with it, because you will be. If I get you to stand up here and just walk around a circle for 40 years, I guarantee you, if we might have to reach down because you more hole down through the concrete, we might have to reach you back, pull you back out. But you're going to be familiar with the area that you've walked in for 40 years. Well, with that familiarity of, it wasn't the same with Joshua as it was with Moses, because when Joshua died, or when Moses died, Joshua was given the same vision that he gave to Moses, right? The vision never changed. The vision remained the same. There were people that had to change. God didn't change the vision to adapt it to you. He needs to change you to adapt you to the vision. Because what he's taking you from and where he's taking you to is probably bigger than you. And if he doesn't grow you here, you'll never be able to maintain the weight here. God's always working something out in you. You have to change. So when you're facing and you're standing at the banks of the Jordan and you're peering across at the promised land and you see everything that God's told you is there, now it's time for you to start changing. Vision has to change. Your eyesight, when I say that, when I'm saying vision, I'm talking about the way you see. It has to change. You can't peer across the Jordan looking at your promised land and see the same thing that you saw in the desert if you're willing or if you're interested in conquering that which is in front of you. There's got to be a change in the eyesight, how you see it. You can't look at those big walls as not being able to be penetrated. You can't look at that like that. You're going to have to look at it as, all right, God, you got me here. That's what you promised, and it's everything that you said, so I know for sure that's yours. And you said you give it to me. You got to change the way you see things. You got to change what you see in your life. Man, whatever that Jordan is that's standing in front of you, man, that is keeping you. Because Jordan wasn't, most times rivers and waterways are a way from here to there. They provide ways. In this case, the Jordan wasn't that. The Jordan was what interrupted a way from here to there. We can't allow what's in between us and the promise to keep us from getting there. You've got to see it differently. Your mindset has to change. It can't be all of the murmuring and the complaining like it has been for the past 40 years. Oh, we're going back to that same old church, and we got to put up with the same old mess. Come on. Come on. And we got to put up with the same old mess all the time. And every time I come in, it's always something. Y'all better get with me. And every time I come in, I got to do this, or I got to do that, or this is happening, or that's happening. You got to change your mindset. You got to start changing the way you see things. Is it God that's trying to work something out in you to prepare you for where he's about to take you? And you, my friend, are doing this, the complaining and the murmuring, and it's causing you to continue to walk around the desert. And the whole time, if you would just stop taking a left and go straight ahead, just one time. And see, when it was given to Joshua, that's what took place. Joshua said, I can't do the same. See, Joshua was from a different loin. He said, God, I'm 90 years old. I'm not interested in walking around the desert. I need to get where I'm going real fast. He changed direction. Didn't change the vision. The vision was the same. It was the promised land. He changed direction. He said, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to do this. And when God says, go, don't look for a stop sign. Don't look for a yield sign. Don't look for a left or right. You keep straight ahead and you go. And if you don't hear him talking, just keep going. Anybody got navigation? You know how that works, right? Get on I-81, go for 20 miles. 5 miles down the road, she ain't said a word. 10 miles down the road, she ain't said a word. I love those moments. Why? Because you're going in the right direction. Why do we think God's got to say, okay, put your left foot out? All right, go ahead, put your right. He's got other stuff to do than decided to sit there and babysit you in every little move of your life. He said, this is where I've told you to go, now go. Now start going. If you get off course, he's going to go, that's not where I want, okay. Get back, okay. He'll tell you. He'll let you know. But there has to be a direction in your life. You've got to change direction. If all you can see right now is failure and disappointment and discouragement, change direction. Your tactics have to be different. Your tactic, you can't, anybody in here that's done military, you understand, your tactics have, you can't fight this enemy the same way you fought that enemy. You go out and try to win against 20,000 men when you just defeated one dude in the boxing ring, and tell me how you fare out. Oh, you be Golden Glove champion, knocking them out. Pow! Face 10 or 15. Show me how Golden Glove you are. You got to change your tactics. See, I can't do this on my own. My tactic has to be different. Oh, I've been in the spiritual warfare. I've been fighting that as much as I can by myself. But now I know we're getting ready to go across this Jordan. Well, now we got to cross this Jordan. The first thing was first. Number one, you got to hear it. Joshua had to hear it from God. He says, I'll be with you the same way I was with Moses. I'll never leave you, and I'll never forsake you. Be strong and of good courage. Heard it. Got it. There's the word. Now, Joshua didn't just take off. He didn't just grab his sword and say, well, glory, hallelujah, and take off running. Why? He's leading the people. It's a group effort. God didn't promise Joshua the promised land. He promised a nation. He told the people, we're getting ready to go. Prepare yourselves. Sanctify yourselves. See, sanctification, consecration, setting yourself aside, setting yourself apart to be used for God's purpose. See, the Israelites have been so used to this. Come on, if you're stuck in the wilderness right now, you better be listening. You've been hung up. And God said, I'm going to give you time. Because he put them at the bank for 3 days. I'm going to give you time to consecrate yourself. Separate yourself. Get away from the murmurers. Get away from the complainers. Consecrate yourself. See, thank you. We're talking about farmers, not warriors. They had to learn to put their garden tools down and pick up weapons of warfare. They changed direction. They changed their mindset. They changed their tactics. See how all that stuff flows together? I mean, for the love of John, if they would have done this 40 years ago, been done gone. But they decided that the wilderness was okay. Might as well just make the best of it. I'm getting manna. See, yeah, that's half your problem now. You're waiting on other people to feed you. Feed yourself. Oh, it's time to grow up. Bible says we're to grow up in all things. Man, we got to get better at what we do. I had a saying when I was a little younger. I used to tell Tommy all the time, work smarter, not harder, boy. Brought up in a different generation. Work fingers to the bone, work till the back breaks. Right? Well, with time, things change. You don't have to go back to the wood pile now and grab 4 sticks of wood and come all the way back to the house and put them 4 sticks of wood down and go all the way back out there again. You don't have to. Now they got tractors and little trailers you pull behind you. You can load that thing up, bring it to the house, dump it over. I mean, man, it's a beautiful thing. But if we stayed in our same mindset and we keep taking the trips to the wood pile, how long are you going to last? How much really are you going to get accomplished? Oh, you might get that task done, but if you're doing it today, that'll be the only task that you get done. You have to change. Not the vision. You. Are you working on it? This is 2018. New year, new thing. Are you working on it? Did you do, all right, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to call you out. Y'all call me out all the time when I do something wrong. I'm calling y'all out. I want to know by showing of hands. You're going to raise your hands. Who got up this morning knowing this was a new year and didn't do anything different today than what you done yesterday? Raise your hand. Come on, if you didn't do anything different this morning than what you done yesterday, raise your hand. God bless me. God keep me. Make this year a greater year. God, you can do it. Make this year an awesome year. I'm just trying to challenge you a little bit. I don't know how I'm getting into some of that stuff. You can't survive in unfamiliar territories by continuing in your familiar ways. That's pretty good. Man, we've talked about changing directions and mindset. We ain't talked about changing leadership because that's not happening. I want to go back to what I seen while I was reading this. In Joshua 3:3, and the scripture said, when you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God further down, set out from your place. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, set out from your place. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, set out from your place. Don't see any light bulbs going off. Don't see any revelation happening. I don't see anybody jumping up and down and shouting me down and amening. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, set out from your place. We're talking about the Israelites. We've been talking about familiarity. For 40 years, the Israelites have been led. Cloud by day, pillar of fire by night. When they seen the cloud move, they moved. When they seen the fire move, they moved. They're embarking unfamiliar territories. God had to change the familiarity of the lead. Listen, man, oh God, this is so rich. There are times in your life as a young babe in Christ that God will just, He'll provide you that cloud, and He'll provide you that fire, and He'll do this, and He does it all for you. He does it all. He even feeds you manna. He keeps your shoes. But there's a time in your life that you're going to face a transitional point. Remember, we talked about that last week with water. Every time you see water, there's a transition. When God puts you into that transition point and you face your Jordan, now the requirement's laid on you. The manna stopped. He ain't feed them no more when they crossed over. Had to grow up. You had to get your own. Get your own stuff. I mean, I've taken care of you from the time that you were. Come on. I've taken care of you since when you come out your mama's womb, you're 18 years old. Pack up and get out. I'm sure I'm the only one that's ever done that. I'm joking. Not really. As you grow and as you progress through life, you're going to be faced with many things. Each time that you're faced with something different, according to the way I read this text, there's going to be a different sign. It's not the same thing every time. I think that we have lost the newness of life in our walk by expecting a familiar sign every time there's change. And we've missed it. God changed it back there 6 months ago. But because we were looking for that pillar of fire, we didn't recognize that the ark had moved. See, the ark just represents God. For those of you that are not in an understanding of that, but it's God. When you see God move, that's when you move. Man, I can see it now. You probably sitting in your living room praying, God, if you move that chair, then I know I got to go. Come on. Anybody ever prayed a silly prayer? I mean, just flat, silly prayer. I mean, we run the car out on empty, and it's going, and it's barely moving. And we say, God, if you'll just move that needle up to full, I'll stop at the next gas tank. And the whole time, he had somebody that had some brains, and he calls that person to invent this thing in your car that's got a light to it. I call them idiot lights. Because most of the time when the lights come on, the problem's already happened. And that thing's been dinging at you for the last 25 miles. And you won't pray a silly prayer like that. And he said, I answered that thing 25 miles ago, boy. You've passed 12 gas stations. Now you don't have one for 60 miles. And you want me to do the miraculous. I mean, come on. You've tried putting God in that spot. I know you have. I know you have. Man, matter of fact, I'm still putting God there. Because I smoked for years. God, don't let me get cancer. Come on, I'll put it right in your house. Right in your living room. Seed time and harvest. Now, is God able to do that? Absolutely. Do I believe that He will? Absolutely. Do I trust that He will? Absolutely. Now, if He doesn't, is He still God? Absolutely. He didn't sow that seed into my life. I did. Come on, we all put God into that challenge. Man, we do some of the crazy. I'm going to pick up this 1,500-pound thing and throw it up on my shoulder. God, don't just save my back. Right? Oh, man, we'll go days without sleeping and say, God, just keep my mind fresh today for work. I mean, I don't like to be so dramatic about it, but I want you to understand we've all done it. We've all put God to the test. And when God fails, we hold Him accountable. But when God puts us to the test and we fail, we still hold God accountable. Grow up. There's a time that your manna is going to cease. There's a time that God's going to move differently in your life. Are you going to recognize it? Or are you going to become too complacent with what's happening now? Come on, church. We are getting ready to march into unfamiliar territory. And it is not only going to take the leader of the house to make sure that he's praying, to make sure that he's prayed up, to make sure that he's asking God for the way, to make sure that he's doing everything that he's supposed to be doing, and you're going home doing the same old thing that you do every day when you leave church, and you expect to hold me accountable, but you refuse to allow me to hold you accountable. And God's telling you today to grow up. You can't continue doing it. There's got to be a place in your life that you decide to take a different direction. The circle life is over. Aren't you dizzy? See, I'll just give it to you. I don't care. I love you. But think about it. How can you put so much weight on the quarterback and the lineman staying at home eating Cheetos, watching whatever? How does that happen? Man, they'll interview the quarterback. Well, why did y'all lose today? Well, I don't know. Let me see about it. The linebackers decided they were going to the go-go bars, and the linemen decided they were going to eat Cheetos, and this person done. And that, why are you asking me? Ask them. I'll be the first one to throw them right out there in the bus. Might throw you on the bus. Well, God, I told him he didn't do it. It's his problem. I'm joking. Not really. Y'all okay? We all right? I ain't taking too much of your Sunday up. We're all right. That looked like that was important, and I didn't do it. Maybe God will give it to me next time. The Israelites were put in a predicament, in a place where God was telling them to become ready, to begin thinking differently, to begin acting differently, to move differently, to see differently. See, that's one thing that you can guarantee with change. It's going to be different. Are you going to murmur and complain the whole time through it? Or are you going to be fluid and be able to move with change? Because, see, you could have hung out with the rest of the Israelites and could have died off in those 40 years in the wilderness because you wasn't willing to change. Or you could have been like the Joshua generation and said, you know what? And this is what's got to take place in our life as Christians. We've got to stand back sometime in our life and go, daggone it, enough is enough. until you do it, you go stand on the bank and you go peer across. And you can be like Moses. You'll be able to see it, but you can't go. I don't want that for you. I want you guys, this is what I want. I want phone call after phone call after phone call after phone call all during the week about how God is just blessing your socks off. But I know we're comfortable. So I probably won't get those phone calls this week. Because we're not going to give God an opportunity to bless our socks off. Because we're too self-centered. Unfamiliar territory forces a more direct focus on the vision. Because of all the changes that take place. Because of everything that you have to change, your tactic, your mindset, your sight, all the things that you have to change, you're changing it to have a more keen focus on the vision. And now it doesn't look so overwhelming. And Joshua says, all right, boys, mount up. We going. You with me? And they said, we're with you. We're with you. And if anybody comes against you, we'll kill them. That's strong leadership there. They say, we believe in you so much. And we believe that God's got his hands on you so much. Somebody stands against you, we'll kill them. Read your Bible. Can you imagine going to that church? Woo! Getting taken out behind the church by the mama of the church. And she wearing your hiney. Papa, don't you dare ever. Huh? I want that church. So here's my question. I'm done. I think I've preached long enough. It's 2 o'clock. Somebody just said, where are you at in life? How long have you been there? You want it to be different? I see the head nod. Here comes the next question. You willing to change? Some of you just dead stone cold and won't even move your head. I'm not getting into that trap. You're not getting me in there. God's got something for you. I hope you can see the Ark of the Covenant because it's moving.